Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For a radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also joining us online worldwide via our podcast at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. We're glad you all could be with us as well. When I say the name Jack Russell, you may think about the music, but a new book helps us understand not only the man behind the music, but also the impact music and life has had on him and what we can all learn better about him as well. Here to talk to us about it, we're excited to welcome author Doty to our broadcast. She wrote the book along with Jack Russell entitled The True Tale of Mista, a rock and roll narrative. We're going to talk to not only about the book, but also what she hopes you're able to learn from Jack's life, his music, and also his impact as well. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is definitely all mine, and I want to say, first of all, congratulations on the success of the book. Of course, it comes at a time when people also, of course, are mourning the life of Jack as well. What has it been like for you, to see the way that people are responding not only to Jack's life, but also the legacy he has left behind in this music?
I feel like I have been a part of something more special than I realized all of these years since writing the book. It's very successful, and it has nothing to do with money.
Yeah. At the time we're having this conversation, the book is an Amazon bestseller. It's ranked number 30 right now in rock band biographies. But what I thought was so interesting about Jack's life and also what you all have been able to do in this book is to show that the role that music actually had. Music wasn't just something that he did. It really was a part of him. What was that like for you to highlight how music really did resonate with him and really come from him?
When I would interview him, he would sometimes go off into La La Land and just start singing. So when Jack would say that music was a part of his life, he meant it, all right. Really, the biggest part of his life was music even before it became what he did professionally. He was playing in local bands and performing in backyards and in garages. So it was the only thing he really knew.
And you were able to show not only, of course, this from Jack's perspective, but especially in part 4 of the book, talk to us about that. What it's like for you to have other voices to be able to talk about Jack's impact.
Yeah, so, part 4 became entitled What They Said, and they're a collection of interviews from people in Jack's life. I did that because he earned such a bad reputation for what happened in 2003 at the Station nightclub. So that disaster, that fire, that has followed him for 2 decades. So these people in his life had some incredible things to bring to the table when it came to who Jack really is as a person, and no one had anything bad to say. And I did interview people who might have been a little bit more forward with their wording or their thoughts about Jack, but it really came down to the fact that Jack is just a wonderful, loving guy, and that's what I learned about him as well. But, I interviewed Eddie Trunk, Eric Singer from KISS, Robin McCauley, Scotty Dunbar, who is a survivor of the Station nightclub fire, and, they all had something different to bring to the table.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting how you began the book, and kind of sharing something very personal for yourself, because you were able to work on this project, right, to get to not only know Jack, but also this is something that you had not planned on doing. What is it that made you say yes to this project?
Well, my husband did convince me a little. My husband is Chip from the band Enough's Enough. So he has certainly been around the block when it comes to rock and roll, right? So I think he just knew more about Jack's story than I did, and he told me that I would be very silly to say no. And believe me, I had been solicited for this project a number of times, and I said no every time. But I woke up in the middle of the night in September 2020 when I had been asked to write it again, and I had said no, by the way. But I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, I think I need to say yes. So I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the way that you kind of frame this, and the reason why I'm spending some time with this, KL, because I think a lot of us, as we kind of look at moments in our lives, there are moments, of course, that we look back and say, I'm so glad I did ... or I'm so glad I was able to, say or see ... Do you find that to be one of those ... for you now, looking at where we are in 2024, that without this book, there would not be that last voice of Jack's?
Oh, that gave me goosebumps, because what you just said reminded me that I did something very special for him, and I was really hoping that I could play that important role in his life in some way. And clearly that is the result.
Yeah. There is something, again, very special. When I was prepping for this segment with you, KL, when the announcement was made on Jack's Instagram about his passing, one of the comments really struck me, and the individual said, in my opinion, one of the greatest voices in rock and roll. But I think this book really does show, not only was he one of the greatest voices in rock and roll, that he really was a person that was true to his passion and his gift. Is that one of the things that you hope that the true tale of Mr. Bone really shows, that this isn't just someone who was an entertainer. This is someone who really was this in life?
I think that is obvious. I think that's a given. I think it's a given before you even open the book. If you don't know anything about Jack Russell and you read it, yes, you will definitely understand that is the case with Jack Russell. And he is the voice of the 80s. As far as I'm concerned. And I mean, what a voice. I think that Robert Plant even said himself that Jack sounds more like Robert than he does. Because Jack did a bunch of Led Zeppelin covers.
Yeah. I love the vulnerability in this book, KL. I love the fact that as you were able to chronicle, Jack did not stray away from, the challenges and the struggles he faced. But I think what really comes through are the lessons learned. So I'm curious for you, as you kind of ended your author's note and as we end the book, what do you hope we learn not only about Jack and the true tale about him, from him, but also even about ourselves and as the way we look at ourselves and our own impact in the world?
Well, as far left as you go, you can always get right back on track. And that was the first thing that Jack told me that he wanted to convey in this book. And so we have to just remember that in ourselves. If we do what is considered the wrong thing, we can always do the right thing. And it's a tale of redemption. So I'm glad that Jack could reach that successful point of redemption in his life before he left us.
Yeah. You had said, of course, before this book that you would not write another one. Has this in any way changed your mind about writing and continuing on with that profession?
I mean, I just laugh because if people just understood what I went through these last 4 years, I might want to tell my own story, but not from a first-person perspective. I have a creative approach to that. Maybe. Okay. We'll see.
Okay, we will see. To be continued. Again, everyone, KL Doty has been our guest. The book is The True Tale of Mr. Bone, a rock and roll narrative, available now through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite local bookstore. I know there is also a site set up as well, KL. How can our audience kind of stay connected with the updates?
Yes, you can go to jackrussellbook.com.
All right. KL, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's go make today amazing. Take care.